Good morning. We represent the Moot Beit Din on this important case regarding the halachic opinion on medical ethics. The case brought before us involves a man, Leib, who was diagnosed with Alzheimer's type dementia and has recently suffered from a heart attack. He is currently on both a respirator and an intra-aortic balloon pump, an IABP, which are keeping him alive. Shayna, his only daughter, was given 3 options as to what she and the doctors can do to help Leib. The first option available to her is to leave the situation as it is, keeping Leib on the IABP, which increases fatal risks and requires him to be sedated indefinitely. Her second option is to remove the IABP and treat Leib's heart disease medicinally, but there is a 50% chance of him dying in the next 30 days. The final option is to allow the doctors to perform a risky surgical bypass operation, which would give him a 60 to 70% chance of living out a normal lifespan, but the surgery has a 25 to 30% mortality rate.
Many sources go against the option of keeping Leib on the IABP machine, but Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, Halacha Refuah, Volume 3, page 30, page 60, responsive regarding a very sick patient, supports it by saying that one should rather sit and do nothing and rely on Hashem's mercy than do a risky surgery. Since the other options might not work, this option agrees with not changing Leib's situation.
And although one source is for keeping Leib on the IABP, we go against this option for the sake of the preservation of Leib's life. In Bereshit, chapter 9, verses 5 and 6, we learn that people were created in the image of Hashem. From this verse, Chazal infers that people need to try to increase a human's lifespan as much as possible.
Rav Moshe Feinstein in Igrot Moshe, Choshen Mishpat, Volume 2, 73-1, says that any medicine that shortens one's life is parallel to shedding blood. Because of the fatal side effects of keeping in the IABP machine, Rav Feinstein would consider it to be the same as killing him.
This idea is mirrored in the Shulchan Aruch, Yoreh De'ah 339.1, where it says that it is forbidden to do anything to hasten someone's death, even if they are suffering. Humans have no right to control who dies in this world, so they need to use the tools that Hashem provides them with to heal.
Contrasting this, Rav Moshe Isserles has a commentary on this text where he permits someone to remove a noise if it is keeping someone from dying. This directly parallels Leib's situation, because this shows it would be better to remove the IABP and then allow him to continue suffering. This brings us to our other reason that we are against this option. With the IABP, Leib will be sedated all the time and not have a good quality of life.
This same idea comes up in Baba Metzia 84a. Rabbi Yochanan is in great distress because his colleague Reish Lakish died. The rabbis ended up begging for mercy from Hashem to allow Rabbi Yochanan to die because they did not want him to suffer. Hashem allows him to die, showing that he approves of the idea that one should be put out of their suffering, which would not include keeping Leib on the IABP.
Overall, we have decided not to go with the option of keeping Leib on the IABP because Shayna needs to preserve his lifespan and his quality of life.
The second option Shayna could choose is to take Leib off the IABP and put him on medication to keep him comfortable.
The first issue we looked at was the preservation of Leib's life. In the Mishnah Torah, Hilchot Rotzeach U'Shmirat Nefesh 2:8, Rambam teaches us that one who kills someone who is terminally ill, a treva, is subject to a lesser punishment. Since Leib is terminally ill, removing the IABP is not fine because it would lead to his death.
In contrast, Shabbat 151a states that one cannot interfere or touch a dying man because it may hasten their death. This indicates that we should not take the IABP out because it may speed up Leib's death rather than preserving his life.
We learned from Sefer Chassidim 234 that one may not put salt on a dying man's tongue in order to keep him alive a little longer. We take from this that Leib should not be subject to more pain to prolong his life, which rejects this option of taking out the IABP.
Furthermore, Ketubot 104a tells the story of Rebbe on his deathbed. In order to stop his students from praying, his handmaiden went onto the roof to break a vessel. She broke the vessel in order to distract the students, whose prayers were keeping him alive. This story shows that doctors should not remove the IABP because it keeps him in a sedated state that they want him to die as peacefully as possible.
We conclude that the IABP should not be removed because it will not preserve Leib's life as much as the bypass surgery and will cause him unnecessary pain.
The The final option to consider is performing bypass surgery. Although there are risks involved, the Beit Din has decided that this is the best course of action. This is the only option that actually saves Leib's life and lengthens it instead of easing his pain.
Masechet Katan Smachot 1:1 says that someone who is dying is still considered a living person, and therefore should not be denied treatment because they are sick. Because Leib is still a living person, and this source implies that the surgery should be performed.
Rav Feinstein in Igro Moshe, Yoredea, Volume 3, 36, specifies that one should disregard the risks one is taking when performing surgery if it could add years onto one's life. If the surgery is successful, they could live quite a bit longer than any other option.
The Rambam in Hochot Ratzeach 11:4 says that it is a mitzvah atzeh to remove an obstacle to someone's life. Because Leib's heart is failing him and is bringing him close to death, something should be done to fix his ailing heart.
However, Leib has lived with Alzheimer's for a decade so far, and his condition will only continue to deteriorate. Because of the severity of the condition, one is forced to question that even if the surgery is successful, what will Leib's life be like? We know it won't get better. We as the Beit Din ask ourselves if Leib's life will be a meaningful one.
Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach clearly writes in Treatment of the Dying, Halacha Refuah, Volume 2, page 131, that a person is not master of his own body to relinquish even one moment. We have found that as the Beit Din, we do not have the authority to determine what will happen to his body, and disregard this line of questioning, because halachically, one does not have the ability to decide what a meaningful life is.
Furthermore, with ever-going advancements in medical technology, a cure for Leib's Alzheimer's is imminent. If the surgery were to be successful in extending Leib's life, Leib's doctors might be able to further improve his condition.
After going through many different sources, we have found many negative and positive aspects of the options available to Shayna. The 25 to 30% chance mortality rate provides complications to the case, but the Beit Din acknowledged that the other options available to Shayna and Leib offer much higher mortality rates, strengthening the Beit Din's decision to go through with the bypass. Although some sources go against the third option, allowing the doctors to perform a bypass surgery on Leib, we do not want to bypass the opportunity to lengthen Leib's life.
Judges, you have 8 minutes.
In your written presentation, in quoting the Mishnah Torah, you write, when a person's father or mother loses control of their mental faculties, their son should try to conduct his relationship with them according to their mental condition until Hashem has mercy upon them. If we stop there and don't continue with the remainder of the quote, could that be read to support any other conclusion that you would reach?
So if we didn't finish that quote and we just left it there, I mean, we could go to other conclusions. We could decide if we should keep him on the IABP or we should take it out. But we realized that this would not be a good quality of life for him. And we really take into consideration his quality of life, and we understand that Shayna has, Shayna has responsibility, and that this impacts her own life, but we are taking Leib's quality of life into consideration.
Yeah, also, it is Shayna's obligation to stay with her father and make sure he has the best life possible, which is why we stopped the quote there. It seems like she should just stay with him and it says, stay with him until he peacefully goes. And that would be, I feel like in a way I'd be in support of almost all the options, but the one that would hopefully provide him with the least amount of pain would be the surgery. If, like you said, there could be further advancements in technology for medicine, and then he's able to improve his life, and even what it was before he had a heart attack, which would improve it so greatly that it would be better for both Shayna and himself.
Okay, a couple of things. First of all, thank you very much. Very well done. I really liked, I was like smiling, about your quality of life, decision to dismiss that, and about new technology. That was really good, so thank you for that. My question to you is, when you were talking about the IABP, I was a little confused. If you could clarify for me, I'd appreciate it. Talking about the image of God, Hashem, all your sources are talking about Hashem's role in this, Hashem allowing somebody to die, stopping prayers. How and why would that be an important factor in disregarding the IABP in today's modern world?
Well, it plays a role because we don't want, it's not our place to decide, like one of our sources said, it's not our place to decide who lives in this world. That's Hashem's place. So we shouldn't be trying to change the situation with what we have, because if someone's dying, Hashem wants them to die, and we have to almost respect his decision. But then we said in a different source, while we go against that option, which is why we end up going with the surgery, is that Hashem gave us the tools to heal people on this earth, and if he didn't want people to be healed, he wouldn't give us these amazing doctors' minds that come up with these new ideas to solve these problems and create these surgeries. So that's we wanted to show how there are two different sides of the problem, which is maybe where you got a little.
Excellent, thank you.
Some questions. Somebody said, I think, a fellow here at the end, mentioned something about doing the surgery instead of easing his pain. Well, what happens if he was in pain? I don't know that he is, but let's say he was in pain and the surgery would not make his pain go away. Would that affect what you would be doing or what you recommend?
No, it would not affect it, because we believe that the sort of value of someone's life goes beyond that level, and sort of extending the life is more important. And if he's in pain, yes, he could be in pain, but that can a lot of the times be treated with medication.
Right, so my point is, if it can be treated, don't you have to treat that first before you would then consider the other?
So overall, there is the one source that says you can't put salt in a dying man's tongue even to continue his life, which would agree with what you're saying, that we shouldn't put him through any amount of pain, even if it will make him live longer. But we think that overall it will be better for him and better for Shayna if he did live longer, because there's so many sources that they almost outweigh the idea that, yes, the pain will be bad, pain of any surgery is bad, but the rewards can outweigh the pain, and we think they will. We think that life, like Mifa says, goes above having pain. We think it's more important to extend that life than do the pain. And if the surgery, the longer you put off the bypass operation, the larger chance there is of his death. So although we would like to manage the pain first with medication, with some way of doing that, we don't want the probability of his death to increase.
I want to go back to the IABP question that was brought up before, because I was also confused, because it sounded like in the first part of the presentation, you recommended, you said that you would be allowed to take it out because you were comparing it to impediment to death, which is part of my question. Is it considered medically impediment to death versus life support? But then the second, when you make your second argument, we were talking about medical care, what you really, it sounded like to me, you went around to was you can't take the IABP out. So which is it? You said you gave sources that you can, and then it sounded like you gave sources that you can't. So
there are a lot of sources from both sides, which is why we really want to show, because if it was just a one-dimensional question, then it would be a lot easier to answer. So we really wanted to show how we found a lot of different things supporting both options, both to take it out and to keep it in, which is probably where that got a little confusing.
no, okay.
But so our overall thing is that we shouldn't keep it in, and we shouldn't keep it in, but we should go to the surgery. So we shouldn't take it out and just manage it with medicine, as one of the options say, but we should do the surgery, like I said earlier, to extend his life and give him a better chance of living.